Hi there. Welcome to everyone who's joining us. Thank you for making time this afternoon and sharing this Lunch and Learn with us. This Lunch and Learn program is the first in a series of six being hosted by the New Jersey Birth Equity Funders Alliance, also known as NJBEFA. My name is Heather Brady, and I have the privilege of supporting NJBEFA's communications, and I'm so happy to be here with all of you for this session. These Lunch and Learn programs are an extension of NJBEFA's commitment to strengthening the impact of community-rooted leaders and organizations, and particularly those working to ensure safer, more joyful birth experiences for Black, Indigenous, and Latine families. To give you an overview of the session, in a few minutes, I'll be turning things over to our presenter, Lorraine Mejias. Lorraine is the founder and CEO of Repost Birth Services and committed to helping birth workers create sustainable and profitable businesses. Today, Lorraine will talk to us about building a thriving birthwork business with an emphasis on the importance of cultivating models that are not only supportive of our lifestyles, but also allow birth workers to make a meaningful impact in their communities. Following the presentation, we'll have some time for Q&A. So if you have questions, just drop them in the chat. The NJBEFA team, including myself, will be monitoring, and we'll start there after. And then following the Q&A, we will be sharing a short poll just to get your feedback on today's session, which we would really appreciate with programs like this, especially when they're new. Having a sense of your experience is really helpful. From there, we'll wrap up, keeping everything contained in this 1 hour-ish slot. I think with that, I am going to turn things over to Lorraine.
Today, I'm super excited to chat with you all. Can you just let me know what is your background? Are you a doula? Do you work for an organization? Do you own your own nonprofit? I just want to get a better idea of who's in the space so I can make sure that I can provide a little bit more information tailored to your industry. If you want to drop it in the chat or just say it out loud, that would be awesome. And also, what do you hope to get out of the session?
If anyone wants to just unmute.
Oh, Rochelle said that she's a doula, but she owns her own LLC, and she's also the co-director at Ancient Song. Awesome. Thank you for sharing, Rochelle. All right, I guess I'll move forward. So a little bit about me. My name is Lorraine Mejias. I am a birth and postpartum doula. I'm also the president of the New Jersey Breastfeeding Coalition, and I am a personal trainer. Just a little bit of background about how I got into birth work. Remember after when I was pregnant, I have one daughter. Her name is Eliana. She's 7 years old. You'll probably see her run in the background eventually within the next couple of minutes. But my pregnancy with her was like absolutely horrible. Well, my pregnancy was horrible. Labor and delivery was horrible. My postpartum period awful. I remember she was maybe like a month old, and I'm over here googling my computer like, why am I so miserable? And it was during that moment where like I fully understood or learned about the role of a doula. Like I always heard about like midwives and doulas. I knew they were like somewhat related, but I really didn't know what they did. And as I read more about doulas, I was just like, holy cow, they're just whole profession of people or women that provide other women or other family the same support that I wish that I had right now. And at that time, I figured I'm not having any more kids. I'm one and done. So I'll never hire a doula, but I absolutely want to be that support person for other families so that they could feel more confident, more educated, and supported all throughout pregnancy and during the postpartum period. So here's my daughter Eliana, if you're wondering how she looked like after she left my womb. But maybe when she was about 3 years old, I got into a new relationship that was very toxic and abusive. And during that time, I felt like I really had to leave that household as soon as I can because it just wasn't safe for us. So that's when I was doing a doula training program and I was taking my sweet old time. I think it took me like close to like a year. But like after I got into the situation, I was like, all right, I gotta take my like doula business really seriously because I need a new place to live for me and my daughter. So I put together my business. Like I think I had this like epiphany at like it was maybe like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I just started like, Googling a whole bunch of stuff, working my butt off. And by like 6 a.m. the next morning, I had like a whole thought out business. But it took maybe about 6 months for me to get my first client. And after I got the first client, within a month, I was booked up for 6 months at a time. But very quickly, I was able to leave the home that I was in. I was able to secure my own apartment. I was able to enroll my daughter in daycare, pay for it fully out of pocket, and just create this whole new lifestyle for myself. So this is one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about what I'm doing, and why I really want to make sure that other doulas could have lucrative and sustainable businesses. Because I just think that being a doula or being a birth worker, very often it's a great career that you could start with very little training and very little money. And just becoming a doula, becoming a birth worker completely changed my life. So I hope that you all could learn a little bit something today too, and that your life could also be changed in maybe a meaningful way. So something that I always say is that being able to provide doula services is a gift that keeps on giving. So it's like the love and the nurturance and support that I provide the family that I work with, in turn allowed me to nurture, love, and support my own family. But at the same time, this work, it can be a little overwhelming. And I feel like, especially as birth workers, we always want to be there for our clients, for our families as much as we can. And often it's at the expense of our own health. So like my number one motto that I have in my life is to don't spread yourself thin, trying to be a superhero in someone else's life while neglecting your own. So something to think about are how can we set boundaries as birth workers to prevent burnout so that we could continue doing the work that we love. I made a list of some things to keep in mind about how to protect your time and energy. So your office hours. I think something that's so common with doula, they're like, oh yeah, once you come on board, you could call me, text me whenever. Like I'll always like reach out back out to you. Like this sounds nice in theory, but I think every birth worker should have set boundaries, set office hours. So you could tell a client, my office hours are from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. for non-urgent matters. If you reach out to me during this time, I could get back with you within 2 hours. I just really want to stress the importance of not working, not feeling obligated to work outside of time that don't work best for you. So for example, within my doula agency, I have a doula on my team, and she often provides prenatal visits during the evening. And something that is often reported to her is that the mother, the pregnant person, will say like, "Oh well, I want my prenatal visit once my husband comes home from work." And we've always been accommodating to these families, but at the same time providing these prenatal visits in the evening. Like she has two sons that are like 5 and like 8, so that interfered with dinner time, it interfered with bedtime, and her whole like day is like shifted to be there for this client. So like practically, or just like it sounds nice that you want to be accommodating to be there for your clients, but at the same time, we can't continue to put other people's families before our own lives, basically. What was I gonna mention? And then also, like, I feel like as doulas or just having our own independent businesses, we feel we gotta be like super flexible. But when people see their OBGYN could say like our office is open from 9 to 5. And there's not one person in the world that says, well, my husband's at work. Can you make an appointment for 8 o'clock? Like, no, the doctor's office hours are the doctor's office hours. So why aren't we valuing and respecting our own time, our own boundaries the same way in which other professionals do? Moving on, the response time with their clients. So like up to, I think I mentioned this briefly before, like, oh, if you reach out, you could expect a response within 2 hours during business hours. Scope of work, just making sure that everything that you want to do, you're listing it out, and don't feel obligated to do anything that you don't want to do. So let's say you're a postpartum doula and you're working overnight, and a client says, you know what, I would really love if you stay awake the entire night. Like, if you don't feel comfortable staying awake the entire night and providing awake care, like, say no. If someone wants you to cook dinner for them and you don't want to cook, say no. If you're a birth doula and a client's like, hey, I want you to be at my side the entire time during labor, like when I start feeling contractions. If normally you'd go and attend these births once your client goes into active labor and you don't want to be there the entire time, it's like, say no. Just make sure that what you're doing, like we have boundaries for a reason, right? So we just want to make sure that your business is set up in which the way that you want to practice and not the way that the families want you to practice, up to an extent. Because of course we are there to support them however they need support, but at the same time, we are professionals, and I think it's important to know our limitations and what we're okay with doing. And if there's something that we don't feel comfortable with or it's going to spread us thin, I want us all to have the courage to just reject that request, but then also follow up with like, well, I can't do this, but this is what I can do for you. Moving on call period. So that's like just when it comes to the communication, like making sure that your clients know when you're going to be on call. and also communicating what happens if your client goes into labor before the on-call period begins. Emergency versus non-emergency. So if a client calls you in the middle of the night and just like, I just felt 45 kicks in 1 hour, is that okay? And like she thought that was like emergency, she's like blowing up your phone. Just like making sure like you're having that clear communication about what's an emergency versus not, so that your time is being respected. And when to show up for a birth. I think I briefly mentioned that before. But something that I wanted to go over is to where that you could communicate these boundaries. I feel like, of course, the first thing that, like all these things mentioned here and anything else, any boundaries that you may have within your practice that aren't listed here, everything should be listed within the contract. Also, they could also be brought up during a conversation and also within emails. So something, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen really quick. So I just want to show you, I use HoneyBook to manage my business, and I want to show you how I communicate with my clients and keep them in the loop about all the information that they should know. All right, can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
So after when a client goes on my website, or let me go on my website really quick. They go on my website, they're perusing, they can schedule a consultation. And once they click on the consultation button, I have a very in-depth intake form. And then once they fill it out, they can schedule a consultation. Once a consultation is scheduled, they get an email. So the first email says, hey, thank you so much for completing our intake form, yada, yada, yada. During the consultation, we'll dive deeper into our services to support you. Before our chat, check out our welcome guide. I had all the information you need about our services and the rates. When we meet, you'll either chat with me, Lorraine, or a client relationship specialist, Mijanu. We'll go over rates, packages, and any questions that you have. Check out our Google reviews. If there's anything else that we didn't capture and that you want to share, please do so. 12 hours after, they get another email. It's a story about why I became a doula. 12 hours after that, they receive another email about what makes working with us unique. And they're just like things like every step of the way. So after they sign the contract, they also get another email that just like thanks them, tell them how excited we are to get to know them, and just let them know to what to expect. Like you have 2 maternity consultations. That's what I call prenatal visits. So now that they're on board, they could call their doula and get those visits put in their calendar. I also partner with a childbirth education video streaming service called Tinyhood. So keep your eyes peeled for another email with all the details on accessing Tinyhood. So I just have a whole bunch of emails that are automatically sent to them every step of the way, so that if there's something that I don't verbally tell clients or the doula they're working with, if they're not verbally telling it, I could guarantee they could never say they didn't receive the information, because they're getting a whole ton of email that has every important detail that they need to know since they received their services. But HoneyBook, so you could do like a ton of things on it. You could automate these emails. You can, there's bookkeeping, there's invoicing, there's contracts, but there is a fee to it. I think they just hiked it up. It's like $450 a year. So if you have active clients, that could be like a really great investment. But if you're only seeing maybe 1 client a month, it might not be worth it. But I just want to show you that you can automate it, but there's ways in which you can emails on Google. So let's say you want to send an email to clients after like after they sign your contract. So you could write, like you could save a template. So the subject could be so excited to work with you. And then you say, hey, name, thank you so much for getting the paperwork out of the way. I'm so excited to work with you. Here's my phone number. Give me a call so we can schedule a meeting. And then if you go to the bottom of the email where there's like the dot, 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 you can, hold on a second. Why isn't it here? I don't know. Let me check my Gmail. Give me a second. Yeah, okay. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to meet you. So if you click on a dot, dot, dot on the bottom of the email, you can click templates, and then you can save the draft of the template. Thank you so much. So if you don't want to invest in any like fancy software, but you know you want to send the same email to a client every time you meet with them, you just write open a new email, go to option, click on templates. Thank you so much. And then whatever message that you have pre-populated will be in there for you. But this does take a little bit like more time. Like I said, you actually gotta go in. You do save time in which you don't need to draft every email independently on your own. But if you do want to invest in software like HoneyBook, All of this could be automated depending on where they are in the workflow. So you can have an email sent out once they make a payment, once they sign a contract, 4 weeks before their due date, 10 weeks before the due date. It's like very flexible so that you can set up a system or a workflow that works best for you. All right. I feel like I'm talking a lot before I keep going. Does anybody have any questions?
No questions, but that was super helpful. And just giving options for workflows is so important. And it also helps to take your time back. I'm a big fan of workflows, even in my own practice. So thank you, Lorraine.
Absolutely, you're welcome. And also, give me a moment. I'm gonna share my screen once again. All right. So when I was on my business email, the reason why I couldn't see the template option when I clicked on a dot 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 is because you got to go into your settings. So the settings is the little like gear symbol up top. So once you click on your settings, see all settings, click there. Then you go to advanced on the right hand side, and then you just got to enable the templates. So you enable it, you save changes, and then now moving forward, when you click on the dot 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 on the bottom, the template option should be there. All right, let me get back into the slides. All right, can you see the PowerPoint again?
Yeah.
Wonderful. All right, so one of the ways, or one of the most important ways that I think that we could also instill boundaries within our practice is to charge clients for our services. And I would say that even if you have no physical experience, if you're a doula, if you have no physical experience supporting a birth or postpartum family, you're still skilled, trained, and valuable. And what are we telling clients about the price of, or the price, or the, what are we telling clients about the value of our services if your price is only $0? Excuse me, ma'am. So something that I always say is that a birth worker charging a full competitive rate can impact their community more than a birth worker who uses a sliding scale. So I remember when I first became a doula, I reached out to like this really big, well-known doula trainer, and I booked a consultation call with her. And I was telling her, I was like, so I really want to like support families, women, mothers, just people who look like me. But at the same time, I want to make a lot of money. And she looked at me. And this is a white woman, by the way. And she said, why do you think that people who look like you can't afford you? Are you saying that all Black women, that all Latina women, that they're all poor, that they don't have jobs? And I was like, huh. She's like, isn't that racist? And she also mentioned to me, she said, when it comes to maternal morbidity, Black women are having worse outcomes. They're dying at higher rates, regardless of their education or income. So she was saying, she was like, so the Black women who are a little bit more well off, that are professionals, that have great jobs, are their lives any less worthy than the people who make lower incomes? And I was like, no. So she, rather than chasing the people that look like you, that don't have any money, why don't you try to find the clients that do? And this really just like opened up my perspective a lot to like how I want to like to operate my business. And I think for the most part, like she made a really great point. And she mentioned how like a lot of the time doulas, we have this mentality where we want to be superheroes. We're out here in our community. We want to change the world, help as many people as we can. But she was telling me saying that like the grand scheme of things, the impact, even though we are making an incredible impact in our communities, it still could be very little. So if we're lowballing our services, providing our services for free or for a very low cost, we're gonna feel burnt out. We're gonna be stressed out. We're not gonna like hang. We're not gonna sustain within the profession. But at the same time, like how many people are we gonna help a year? Like 12 people, 15 people if we're lucky. If we do anything more than that, we absolutely can. But we're gonna be exhausted. For us, as just like one person, we can't do it all. And as much as we may want to, being realistic, we have limitations. There's only so much that we could do. So going back to what I said before we're gonna go ahead and be a superhero for other people, let's start with ourselves. Let's try to save ourselves. Let's make sure that our family is being taken care of, that our well-being is strong, so that we could better be there, be present for our community and the family that we work with. But by the way, if you do want to offer a sliding scale, please do so. I'm not telling you to not do so, but always let a client know what the full rate of your services is, whatever that is. And if they say like, wow, your birth doula services are $2,000, I absolutely wish I had $2,000, but that's something that I just cannot afford. If they express that to you, then you could work your way down, but don't ever assume that somebody can afford based on whatever situation that you have or whatever situation that don't assume that your client could be in any financial bind if they didn't express to you that they're in a financial bind. And like if you just tell a client like, oh well, my services are usually $1,000, but today I could do it for like 500 or 600. If you're just giving them that price, then you're sort of stuck at that price. They're only gonna get 500 or 600. But if you start at a larger price and you're working your way down, you'll be accommodating for the client that could really benefit from like the extra like financial support that you're giving them. But at the same time, you're not lowballing yourself. So I just have a list of a few things to consider when you're setting your rates. So the cost of training and continuing education, the cost of liability insurance, never practice without it, the time spent acquiring new clients, so that's creating posts, advertising them, responding to social media posts, business, the cost of social media marketing, business subscriptions like QuickBooks, Calendly, Squarespace, GoDaddy, HoneyBook, anything that you spend money on your business, childcare, the time you spend with your clients, the time spent on call, and most importantly, the amount of money you need to live a comfortable life. So I feel like so many times people, they become doulas or they start a business and it's just like, yes, well, I'm finally my own boss. I don't have anybody telling me what to do. But now rather than working a 9 to 5, you're working a 9 to 9. And when you actually calculate how much money you're making, you're paying yourself like $6 an hour. So like, is it really worth the trade-off? When it came to my rate on how I set my business or how I set up my business, I gave myself rates that were adequately enough so that I could pay my bills. So it's like, I have a 2-bedroom apartment. My rent's almost $3,000 a month. Let me take that into consideration. My daughter, she's in activities in school, my health insurance, my utilities. I want to go on vacation every couple months. And I added up all my bills, all my crazy expenses, and I was like, all right, realistically, I could see maybe 2 or 3 clients a month. So in order for me to actively get 3 clients a month and pay all these bills, this is how much my rate needs to be. So I encourage you to have that sort of same mentality when determining the rates for your business, just because there's no point of having a business. And if you're a birth worker or you're a doula, you're absolutely a business owner. I think that we should all get into the mindset, but there's no point on having a business if what you're doing and then paying your bills. So here, just like something to think about. So let's say you have like $4,000 in bills every month. Would you rather look for 5 clients that you charge $800 each, or just find 2 clients that you charge $2,000 each? Do you want to feel exhausted every week from the emotional and physical toll of birth work and working overtime? Or would you rather live a comfortable life because you set rates and schedules that allow flexibility in your life? Do you want to have just enough money to get by every month? Or do you want to have enough left over so that you could spend in your family, donate to charity and church, or whatever else makes you happy? Um, and by the way, I know like I shared a little bit about like my story and my testimony earlier on, but something that I just really want to know is that like a lot of times people are like, oh, well, I only charge this for like my birth or for postpartum support because I really don't need the money. I'm a stay-at-home mom. This is just extra change in my pocket, or I have a full-time job. I'm just really doing this to like doing it as a hobby. But a lot of times, especially since a lot of birth workers, most birth workers are women, it's like we have all these other people in our life that we depend on to support us. So and even though like in my particular situation, I was in a relationship that wasn't great, like you could have the most supportive, amazing, down to earth, money making husband in the world, or just like anybody that's like in your family, within your network that you rely on for support, however that could support look like. And nothing in life is ever promised. So what if tomorrow something happens and that person that you relied on so much is no longer in your life? So if that person's gone, how much money do you have in the bank, or what systems do you have in place so that your rent or your mortgage continues to get paid? Your children are still your children are still well taken care of. You still have all the finances that you need so that you could support your own life independently. And for some people, you could be like, oh, well, I don't have to worry about that. Great. But I feel for like the majority of Americans, we really don't have those systems in place. We sort of depend on each other for our livelihood. Like there's so many things, especially when it comes to finances, that like we could rely on or be so dependent on. And at any time, any day, it could just be stripped away from us. Money that we have coming in is taken away. We're getting laid off from our job. We have a partner that something happens to them, they're no longer there. So what are we doing? If you have this opportunity to make more money within your profession or within this hobby, why not have that money? And you may not need it, but wouldn't it be feel nice to just know that it's there? Now, God forbid anything were to happen, that you were financially okay to continue living a comfortable life. So, you deserve a livable wage. And I feel like between doctors, nurses, midwives, and patient care technicians, doulas, and other non-clinical birth workers, we're often the lowest paid person in the room. But the good thing about having our own business or being independent contractors is that for the most of the time, we're our own boss. So there's no need to ask for a raise. We could just give it to ourselves, and we deserve it. Um, so I always like to refer to like the ecosystem of wellness. So once you build a sustainable business that brings you joy and aligns with your purpose, and provides for the family within our community, or we build sustainable businesses that bring us joy, align with our purpose, and provide for our families. And because we're supported, we can show up for our clients with presence, energy, and at our full capacity. The families in our communities begin their parenting journey feeling confident, supported, and healthy, and seeing that impact brings fulfillment, which fuels our ability to continue showing up, sustaining within our work. So yeah, let's build organizations that support not only our community, but also elevates our own livelihood. Um, if you want more business tips, follow me on Instagram. And if you'd like to do a one-on-one consultation and dive deeper into anything that I discussed today, shoot me an email or call me.
Thank you, Lorraine. Thank you so much. I really appreciate this conversation, even for myself, and the work that I do. That question about is what you're doing, paying your bills. It's such a clear question we should all be thinking about. I know we don't always. And I feel like when you talked about setting your rates, it really began to resonate in the chat. So we have some time and wanted to open things up for a bit of a community Q&A. If anyone has questions for Lorraine directly, please don't hesitate to just unmute yourself and ask.
Hi, Lorraine. Colleen here. Looking forward to this weekend. Really appreciate it, being in this space, and every single thing that you said just now, trust me, it hits like a ton of brick where in terms of rates and all that. And doula work is hard work, and I am one of them that's like, it's like kind of a mush, like, oh my God, she don't have the money. And even right now, I have a client that her insurance just dropped. I mean, they just throw her off, situation. And in my head, I'm like, I literally just got laid off from my full-time job. I have a teenager that's heading to college in a few months. And I'm like, girl, need to make some money. But then here's this mom and, her insurance and all sorts of stuff. And I'm like, what do I do now? But then I have pending clients, and I'm like, it's between, all right, am I going to be supporting her at this birth, or I'm just going to go book more people? So it's like a tag, it's like a whole mental situation. But the bottom line is we do need to eat, as doula, and be able to pay our bills and all that. So super grateful for all that you packed on us today. And I'm definitely digesting it. Appreciate it.
Give me a second. I was trying to pull up the form so I could share it with you for my event on Saturday, but for some reason it's not.
Hey, so thank you for sharing that. I'm really not familiar with all the public transportation. That's something I have to, I guess, rely on now and just kind of look into further. I'm in Jersey City. And so the other part, I do have a question when you were talking about modifying your rates and things. And I realized that a lot of the families that I connect with, that it seems like a great agreement in terms of their being and their lifestyle compared to like how I serve and show up in community. But it's always going back to the comparison of, I guess, them doing some research and compare it to like folks who take Medicaid and stuff and like those type of rates. And I'm like, no, that's not my price range, right? And so then I end up referring out a lot of times to other doulas, which for me, I always mention that it's not about hiring Jewel. It's more about you getting care, right? Like you getting birth support. So I just humble and like just lean on that and leave them on that note, right? And so I kind of feel like I'm in this uncomfortable space with having to always be compared to like those lower rates or a doula that's like newer you know, in a way of newer in this, like at least where I am in the spectrum. And so, yeah, I find it to be like uncomfortable to feel like I have to kind of bargain and see and trying to like meet them. And I don't really want to do that right now, especially when I'm trying to become a CPM. Like I'm only doing birth doula work or whatever just so I can cover all my tuition, right? So I'm having a bit of a challenge right now.
So it's like when a client's like, "Oh, I really like you, but I saw a doula, they charged only $1,000." I say to them, "You want a doula that's gonna give you results. You said you wanted to have a VBAC. I've
Right.
supported over 75 families having VBACs. These are my reviews. These are the families that work with me. This is their testimonials." So it's like with your rate, of course, there's newer doula that have lower rates, but you have that experience behind you that you could confidently brag about. And so it's like,
I think
if
that's part
someone
of
just wants something that's like the lowest price, they could absolutely go and get that. But if they're invested in achieving a certain result, you let them know that you can provide that for them.
Okay. I love how you change the language in terms of investing in a different result with someone of more of an expertise.
Yeah, you're welcome. And even if it's like you being the humble woman that you are, I don't know if you're on the call when I was showing like my automated messages that go out to my clients. Let me see if I can pull it up again.
I'm just going to jump in and say, because we're nearing time, we are recording. So we're going to send everybody a link of the full presentation. So if you missed anything at the start, you will get it. If you want to share quickly, Lorraine, and then.
Yeah. So this is an email that my clients get like a day before the consultation. So White Families Across New Jersey and New York City Trust Repose, my doula agency. Our mission of Repose is here's what makes working with us unique. Every doula on our team is rigorously trained, CPR first aid certified. We're proud to say our team is top notch. Check out our Google reviews. We have a diverse team of 14 doulas. We have access to monthly parenting support groups and a network of doulas to answer all of your questions. You have free childbirth education. You have comprehensive postpartum support. So they get this email that shows all the different ways that differentiate us from our competitors. So they know before they even meet with me, like, all right, they offer all this. So if you don't want to like look a client in the eyes and like brag about how amazing you are, just like shoot them an email. Hey, I'm excited to meet with you based on my 10 plus years of experience doing this, this, and this. I hope my skills and my talent is exactly what you're looking for. I'll see you on Wednesday.
All right. Lorraine, thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen for a minute, and we're going to just wrap up with that poll. I'll just give me 1 second. As I mentioned at the start of this program, this is the first in a series of 6 lunch and learns NJ Betha is hosting, the details of which you can find on our website at birthequityalliance.com. And as I mentioned just a few minutes ago, we will be sending a link to the recording of this program. So for those of you who joined us a little bit late, don't worry, you're not going to miss anything. And for all of the future programs, and this one as well, we'll also be posting them on our YouTube channel at Birth Equity Alliance. Lorraine, I just want to thank you again for sharing your expertise and for the emphasis on sort of knowing our worth and protecting our time and energy. I think that's it. So just going to say, take good care, everybody, and hopefully we'll see you at the next one. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Have a
Thank
great day.
you. Thank you. Yes, thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, Lorraine.